On the Autocar show today, we drive the all-new Tata Hexa. The Accord is back and this time in a hybrid guise. And industry news on Autocar Confidential.
Now, we first saw this car at the Geneva Motor Show in 2015. Then it was attracting a lot of attention at our very own Auto Expo in February 2016. It's taken Tata a long while to get this car out on the road. They've thrown a lot at it, but the Hexa is finally here. Now, this is their big bet on moving upmarket. It's their most premium car yet, but is it good enough to attract the premium car buyer? That's what we have to find out. It's a strong-looking vehicle with a very aggressive front. Dominating the nose is a dual-colored bumper with a massive signature honeycomb grille underlined by the bullhorn-shaped chrome garnish and flanked by the projector headlamp. A large air dam is encapsulated in a chrome outline and creates a tough jawline. Along the side, the 19-inch flat surface alloys look too sunken into the wheel arches. And from this profile, it's got more of an MPV look, which gives away the fact that it's based on the Aria. The rear bumper has chrome step plates and the wraparound LED tail lamps give it some zing. It does have presence, that's for sure. And with the traditional ladder-on-frame construction, it sits quite high off the ground too, with a clearance of 200 millimeters. The interior of the Hexa actually looks quite rich and premium. The front dash looks well finished. You've got leather, you've got soft plastics, there's a nice little recess on top for storage, you've got dual glove boxes, one is a chiller. There's been improvement on equipment as well because the screen has been made less reflective, the fonts and everything have been made brighter. One thing I find lacking is storage space in the central area. Here's where one would normally throw their phone or glasses or something. There's only a cup holder, although you do have the box. But the Hexa also comes loaded with equipment. The Hexa is packed with equipment to woo the premium customer, and it's quite a list. The boot with all seats up is just for small bags, but can open up to 671 liters of space with the seats flipped down. However, when we did try the variations, we noticed a few flaws. The last row really doesn't flatten out because it fouls with the side cup holder panels, and the 60 split in the center row on the bench configuration doesn't really flip up entirely as it fouls with the AC central console. So, fitting in big suitcases will not be all that easy. So it's time to try out that crucial third row. A little bit of a fidgety handle to put the seat back down, but the flip up is quite easy. I'm going to pull the seat up and see just how much room there is. I have to say that for someone my size, it's pretty good. I can tuck my feet under the seat. I still have enough leg room. The recline angle is nice. So if you put me in here for a short while, not too bad. But I have a feeling taller people, like Nick Hill, are going to have a problem. So let's get him in here and see how he fits in. I think you have enough leg room.
But this is going to be an issue.
Alright, so small people like me, yes. Big people like him, no. The Hexa is powered by the 2.2-liter Varicore diesel power plant that has been tweaked a bit and produces 156 HP and 400 Nm of torque. It's offered with a 6-speed manual and a 6-speed auto as well. Let's begin with the manual. As you can see, I really have to haul myself into the Hexa. It is quite high. And for someone as short as me, I have to raise the seat to the highest position, which isn't really quite high enough. Maybe lower the steering. I still feel that the binnacle is a bit high and, like I can't see the corners, but let's get on the move and see what it's like. Though it took me a little bit of a while to settle in, the Hexa didn't feel as large or as daunting once I was behind the wheel on the move. In fact, it was quite easy to drive. It's a nice, torquey, responsive engine. I'm going uphill now. I'm in third gear, and I just put my foot down, get to move on. I really don't need to work the gears much, and that is a good thing, because if there's one weakling, it's the gearbox. It requires a very firm hand. And that's an understatement. Should you need to do a 3-point turn, you will find yourself fighting with the gearbox to slot it into reverse. The gate is so far out that it almost always slots into 6 by mistake. The gearbox is generally notchy too, so slotting into gears is really not a smooth affair. But the good part is that the lag is only below 1500 RPM. After that, it pulls really cleanly, so you don't have to use the gears much. The clutch too isn't the most progressive, so at crawling speed, it gets slightly jerky. But once you pick up the pace, the engine has a nice, strong pull. In fact, it's a great cruiser. Now, going back to U-turns and parking, it's a bit cumbersome and heavy at low speeds, the steering. So parking and turning is not the easiest. But once you're on the move, it lightens up and it's actually quite good. It gives you a good sense of security, whether it's around the corners or even at a straight line. It's got a good on-center view. Though there is a fair bit of roll, the Hexa actually gives you a sense of security around corners. The front end dives in nicely, leaving you feeling sure-footed. The tires offer a good level of grip as well, and when you push a little harder, they too don't lose their footing. What doesn't give you a sense of security, although, are the brakes. They feel a little wooden. Now, if you have to stop in a rush, you'll find that it's not so confidence-inspiring. I would have liked a little bit more bite from the brakes. But it's more to do with the modulation of the pedal than the actual braking power, because the V-Box test showed it came to a halt reasonably well. Now, since we did have this new Super Drive mode to test, we decided to throw some things at it. So we selected the rough drive mode and went off the beaten path. And what I find is that it creeps quite well actually. I've got my foot off the accelerator. It's creeping over the rough patches. And it pretty much goes over quite a lot. You don't have to be worried about rounding it. Yes, the ground clearance ensures that you can really go off the trail and not really have to worry. The off-road mode works reasonably well using traction control and engine modulation to help you get out of sticky situations. As for the other modes, Auto, Comfort and Dynamic, it was really hard to tell the differences between them. Overall, however, the manual gearbox left us with the impression that it was a bit cumbersome to drive. So it was time to switch over to the Auto, which came as a pleasant surprise. The automatic actually feels a lot lighter on its feet, feels easier to drive. This transmission made the Hexa feel just that little bit more agile. The 6-speed gearbox makes light of driving, it's smooth, you don't really feel the shift, and it's quick to respond. In fact, sometimes we think it's a little too quick to respond, especially when you're out on a highway, you're cruising along, just dab the accelerator and it will shift down, even though it really doesn't need to. At high speeds, even though there is adequate torque to continue, or even on inclines, the box will shift down at the slightest pressure to the throttle. But it soon realizes it's at the right rev for the next gear and shifts back up again. So this is not really a criticism, because overall the Auto feels really good to drive, and the responsiveness is actually a bonus, through traffic or when one needs to overtake. The Sport mode works well too, letting you hold the gear to the red line. Now, having had the full front seat experience in both variants, it was time to be a passenger. It's a nice spacious back seat, there's lots of leg room, you sit nice and high, visibility is good, so it's quite comfortable here. But if I have to complain about one thing, it would actually be about generosity, which has been a bit too generous with the base of the seat, and it's long, so it cuts into the back of your knee, especially if you're a short person like me. I'm far more comfortable with my legs stretched out. Luckily enough, there's enough space to stretch them out. Apart from that, the seats themselves are really comfortable and well cushioned. The side bolsterings hold you in well, and to keep you comfortable, there are central and side vents for the AC and sun blinds too. Long journeys in this back seat will be easy ones, especially when you factor in the ride quality. We're on quite a bumpy section of road now, and I have to say that I'm quite impressed by this ride quality. It sort of smothers everything in its path, doesn't let much filter through to the rear passenger. You feel quite isolated and comfortable. While talking of isolation, it must be mentioned that the cabin is well insulated too, making the overall experience feel quite refined. Now the Hexa will start their bookings on November 1st, and deliveries will start January 2017. So right at the outset, we said that this would start a big push into the premium segment, and they have thrown a lot into the Hexa. It's loaded with equipment, some of it that we don't even see in classes above. So yes, it is plush. It's comfortable not only in terms of space, but in terms of ride quality too. It drives well, and it has that practicality of the 7 seats. So it has a lot going for it. But if there's one thing that we could take on, it's the manual, which is a bit cumbersome to drive, and the automatic would be our pick of the two. We asked ourselves at the beginning, is the Tata Hexa good enough for the premium car buyers to consider? Well, our answer would be an emphatic yes. The Honda Accord is back after a break. Now, when it was here, the Accord had that winning formula of space, refinement, and luxury that came at an affordable price. This time around, the Honda Accord comes with a little bit more. With environment taking center stage, Honda have decided to bring the Accord as a hybrid, and that's the only version that you'll be able to buy. Does it make it a better car? And does this Honda retain all the qualities of that winning formula? That's what we're going to find out. The front end is unmistakably Honda, with the familiar smiling grille and the chrome garnish. But it does look more taut than the older version. There are blue accents on the headlamp and the grille to highlight the hybrid nature. This version of the Accord is actually more compact than its predecessor, sitting on a reduced wheelbase, which Honda says gives them 40% more stiffness and the overall car more agility. In fact, length and width are a little less, but height is a little more, giving this car an overall more compact look. The rear, however, still has that big, heavy feel, and the LED tail lamps get the blue accents too. Now, moving to the inside. It's a really nice interior. It feels luxury, it feels premium, it feels rich. You get dual screens now here in the center part of the dash, and it works really nicely with something like, say, the navigation system, where you can have the map on one screen and the instructions on the other screen, so you don't have to switch between screens to do things. In front of you, you get one big speedometer, and you get the rest of the electronic displays which show you whether it's on brake regeneration, whether it's in electric mode, or whether it's using the engine. The dash doesn't have that sweeping design as before, and along with the all-black interior, it takes away from the spacious feel of the previous Accord. Still, it is a very roomy cabin. There is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and you can even start the engine of the car remotely to power the aircon system. There's a cool reverse cam that shows you not only the reverse parking area, but comes on every time you use the left indicator to give you a clearer picture of what's behind you before you turn. Now, though the dimensions are marginally smaller, efficient packing is a Honda strength, and it ensures that the space inside hasn't been compromised. It still retains that amply spacious back seat. There's loads and loads of legroom. The rear seat is also nice and wide, 3, and I think even at a squeeze you could get 4 into this back seat. The good part is that you sit nice and high, so visibility is really good. It feels airy and spacious. And if you're sitting behind the passenger seat, now you get a set of buttons to open up more room for yourself. What makes this car truly unique, however, is the 2-motor hybrid system, combining a 143 HP 2-liter Airy Tech Atkinson cycle engine along with 2 electric motors. The Accord Hybrid achieves a peak combined output of 215 HP. Known as Intelligent Multi-Mode Drive, the system has 3 operating modes: Hybrid Drive, EV Drive, and Engine Drive. Start it up, and except for that little warning tone, it's eerily silent on this inside, and sometimes you're left wondering, is it on, or have I not switched on the car? And that's the first giveaway that this is a hybrid. Under most conditions, the vehicle operates in a similar manner to a range extender. In the hybrid drive mode, the petrol engine operates as a generator, providing electricity to the electric motor and charging the battery. Unlike other hybrids where the engine drives the wheels, in this Accord the front wheels are driven by the electric motor alone. The engine has no direct link to the front wheels, and since power is being sent via electric motors, there's no need for a conventional transmission. In the EV drive mode, the Accord Hybrid can also operate on electric power alone, but for a very limited range of 2 kilometers with the engine shut off. Now, the second giveaway that this is a hybrid is the fact that there is no tachometer. So despite the fact that this is a Honda petrol engine, don't expect those revs right up to 7,000 RPM. In fact, power here is concentrated lower down. Initial response is really good, especially with the assist of the electric motors. And driving in city traffic is very easy. What makes the Accord Hybrid unique, however, is the engine drive mode, where the engine drives the wheels, used mainly during medium to high-speed cruising up to 70 kilometers per hour, where only 1/6 gear ratio corresponding to 5th or 6th is used. And while the engine has sufficient power, an electric assist is also sometimes used to provide the most amount of performance. This makes it both a series and parallel hybrid truly unique. What's even more radical is the fact that the Accord Hybrid is constantly shifting between these 3 distinct drive operations, optimizing fuel efficiency on the fly. So all this technology ensures that as long as you don't accelerate hard, the Accord does a great job of transporting you around town or the highway in the most effortless manner. But pin your foot to the floor and it just doesn't seem effortless anymore. What it really lacks is that top-end power. In fact, if you put your foot down and push it hard, you will hear it rev quite loudly. The engine revs soar to a preset limit to optimize efficiency and are held there. It feels like there's a CVT gearbox hiding somewhere. You can feel the car accelerating faster, but it isn't that punchy rev-free feeling you're used to from Honda. Although there is a sports mode which does provide more battery assist and enhances the experience, the 215 HP Honda honestly should be really a lot more fun. But this car is not about sportiness and fun. It's about efficiency, and everything points to that. The Autobox even has a brake mode selection. Now you can also drive it in the B mode, which enhances brake regeneration. Honda claims 23.1 kilometers per liter, which is impressive for a car of this size. In fact, it's not only the engine, but the entire car that is really geared towards stress-free experiences rather than a sporty character. The suspension too has been set up for effortless driving. The steering, though not engaging, is accurate and nicely weighted. And whether it's around corners or at straight line speeds, the Accord feels quite sure-footed and planted and stable. Hit an uneven patch though, and the rear tends to bounce around a bit, and suddenly the car doesn't feel as settled as before. Although it feels pliant and supple at low speeds, once you pick up the pace, you do get a lot more vertical movement in the back seat. Still, it's nothing that will unsettle you, and the back seat remains a very comfortable place to be. Honda has taken the hybrid-only route for the Accord, partly to showcase its technology and partly to take advantage of the lower excise duties and VAT on hybrid cars. But unlike the Camry, which is assembled here, the Accord won't get the same tax breaks offered to locally produced cars. The Accord is a full import and there's no concession on import duty, and that's what will make it considerably more expensive than the Camry. So the Honda Accord does retain all its winning qualities. It's spacious, it's comfortable, it's refined, it gives you that sense of luxury, it comes loaded with equipment, and now as a hybrid, it's extremely efficient too. The one thing that it can't retain is the affordable tag. Now the fact that this is a hybrid and it's a complete import makes it expensive. Priced north of 40 lakhs, Honda have priced this out of the gate.
Hello and welcome to Autocar Confidential. It's that part of the show where we give you a little bit of something you probably haven't heard before. Now, automatics are really the rage in India, especially in the budget car segment, and we're going to see even more and more of them. What we've heard is that the Tata Tiago is going to be coming out with an AMT version or automated manual transmission, but only for the petrol version. There's no talk of it being given to the diesel as yet. But the bigger news is that Mahindra is also going to be giving its compact KU V100 and auto transmission too. Now, they won't be using Ricardo, who have supplied the AMTs to the TU V300. It hasn't been very successful there, but what they will use is an AMT from Magneti Marelli, the same company that has successfully given its units to Maruti. But the real breaking news is that Hyundai has decided to set up an automated manual transmission factory of its own right here in India. So what we can expect is all the new generation Hyundai cars to be equipped with AMT too. Well, that's it from me this week, but do keep watching the Autocar Show.